Anyone else? Any other question? Yes.
So I'm very close to you, very loud, so you don't need a mic. So what, again, I wanted to ask for to the Mayo in the panel, because it's very hard to see Mayo introduce these panels like this.
Yes.
What was your aha moment? Why do you care about women in leadership? Why do you care? You know, what was that moment where you say, I think I should care about this subject?
That's an excellent question. Excellent question. Because it is true, it's very rare to be able to have men having these conversations, and yet these conversations are incomplete without that perspective.
I'll start. It's entirely selfish. So I think, I'm being honest, I think I was actually exchanging some emails with my mother yesterday in preparation for this. And yeah. Insight. Mom is always right. But no, I think my mom's an artist, and I spent a lot of time with her growing up, and for whatever reason, since the youngest, my earliest friend was a girl, and through the years I've always had women who are friends, and all the way through to, I married my best friend. And in my personal life, as I entered my professional life, I continued to seek out both men and women as colleagues. Now, as I moved into leadership positions, I continue to seek that, because I actually need to have that to be successful for myself. And that is where it started. So before I was thinking about what is right for women and what is right for my company, I was thinking what is right for me. And I'm just being honest, I think it started with the need to have a professional workplace that reflected what I valued. And when I saw it look any different, I did what I was trained to do, change that. And so I think that is what is, I don't think there's any one aha moment, but I've always tried to have that balance.
My aha moment, 1984. Really, I finished up in the UK. When I left the UK, none of the big 8 accounting firms combined had a single female partner. And I left the UK on a Sunday. I arrived in Singapore, and we had 25% female partners in 1984. It cannot be more striking to sort of notice the difference that it makes to the place, and so you start reflecting the role of education, the very developed country I left behind, the kind of still quite third worldish Singapore we had in 1984, aspiring to do better, and the role that education was going to have in freeing up the labor force and having more people contribute towards economic growth. And it just hit me because it was just 14 hours later on the plane.
Yeah. That's right.
And one thing that also struck me was the office I left behind. We were both 400 people in 1984, back in Birmingham and then in Singapore. We are 400 people in Birmingham today, and of course in Singapore we're like 2,500 people. And I know we couldn't have gotten to 2,500 people, of whom 65% maybe are ladies, without the ladies.
Right, thank you. Mike, real quick.
Mine was 1979.
Right.
This is not one-upsmanship, it is what it is. Before I was in the government, I was a police officer for a couple of years in Oakland, California. And very macho culture, obviously, and very few female officers, a very dangerous environment. And we had a smattering of officers on the street, and I remember one incident where, you hear some of the male officers talk about the women can't do the job, blah, 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 blah. And there's one woman I always remember. She was 5'4", blonde, and she had the patrol beat right next to me. And I was at a hospital one day taking a report, and they get a report of 2 armed robbery suspects in the vicinity, blah, blah, blah. A few minutes later, I hear her on the radio chasing this guy. So I zoom my car down, try to do backup, thinking I'm going to help save the day and all this kind of stuff. And by the time I get there, she has both guys on the ground with a shotgun at their head, right? Now, you know, in and of itself, okay, what does that mean? Well, in my feeble brain at the time, I kind of thought, well, that's a very interesting dynamic. I hear a lot of stuff in the locker room about women can't do this. And then you see what happens. And so throughout my life, every time I would hear that, I always went back to that incident, right? And it just kind of reinforced to me that, you know, whatever stereotypes you think, a lot of times that's a lot different, right, from reality.
That's a great story. We are almost out of time.
I'd like to share a oh moment rather than an aha moment. And that's relatively recent. I'm a little worried that the momentum that has been achieved over many years about this issue of how to make the workplace more gender-friendly. My fear is that it's actually going to go back a few steps for the next few years, because the years of very rapid growth across the globe, the economy was, you know, just galloping away, and most organizations were feeling this acute talent shortage. And when they felt that talent shortage, they said, here are a lot of bright women, why don't we try and make life easier for them? But fast forward to a couple of years ago, where there's a general slowdown, things are, you know, the sentiment is weak other than the tech sector. And, you know, whether it's Europe, of course the US is recovering and so on, but a lot of Asia is slowing down. And my fear is that people are going to say, so we don't have a talent shortage anymore, so why do we need to make this extra effort for people who have a whole bunch of constraints? And why don't we just work with the men who have no constraints? So I'm actually very worried that we're going to see a little bit of a slowdown in this momentum that was building up in organizations. And I think that women who are, you know, in the workforce today will need to recalibrate what they can expect from their organizations, and how far organizations will go to keep women. See, exceptionally talented women, like exceptionally talented men, will command anything, anywhere. But I'm talking of, you know, just the regular you and me, you know, not somebody who's just exceptional. I worry about it.
And I think that's why it's advantageous with Tanvi's program, right, that's coming up, because I think the ability to have a forum where you can discuss that about leading yourself and leading others, I think that's an important piece. And so I think this is a step in the right direction.
Right, and when at 8:20 on a Friday we have a group like this here, I think we can be hopeful about the future. So thank you very much, everybody on the panel. I really appreciate your being here.